They maintain their commitment to their spiritual lifestyle throughout Venus Rahu and Venus Jupiter. Rahu can be obsessed about something illusory, but in a positive way. It can also get obsessed about transcending illusory limitations. And so here Jupiter is conjunct Rahu, and with the help of a spiritual teacher they learned a lot about themselves, the good and the bad, and tried to become a better person. By the time Venus Saturn came along, they had a sobering realization that healing cannot be done in isolation forever. Right? Saturn rules the third house of combined effort, especially since Saturn is here also in Gemini, the sign of teamwork, and also conjunct Venus, the partnership planet. And so Venus-Saturn was a time when they began to understand that partnership was not just a distraction or problem, it was part of their path. They realized that working through their issues with another human being was essential to their growth, not in a chaotic way or overly idealistic way, but with humility and acceptance. And it was in Venus-Mercury that this person got married at the age of 33. And we can see here that Mercury is placed in the 7th house of partnerships, and it is not aspected, which actually was really a blessing for this person, right? It gave them a feeling of neutrality and lightness to their partnership, right? There was a certain mental clarity that had been missing previously. As we can see here, Mercury is the Lord of Venus, and so in Venus-Mercury they got married, and this became a very important time for them in Venus Dasha, particularly with regards to the D27, which is their ability to overcome struggles and hardships. And it was actually in Venus-Mercury Dasha when for the first time they experienced a sense of confidence in dealing with the ups and downs in a relationship. Mercury gave them a break from the relentless pressure of Mars, Rahu, Saturn, and Ketu, and allowed them to enter a relationship with less emotional burden and more curiosity and openness. And so they became finally ready to co-create a relationship with greater awareness and confidence, and also a sense of higher purpose. So next came Sun Dasha. The Sun here is in Cancer in the 9th and 10th house, and it is without aspect. So there's no planet influencing the Sun, and the Sun's Lord Moon is a manifester of the important 3rd house. And this gives some strength here to the Sun. But again, we are not here in Moon Dasha. We are still in Sun Dasha, and the Sun by itself is just mediocre. More importantly, the Sun does not rule any of the important 3rd house factors, and this tells us that the major patterns that were set in motion during the previous Venus Dasha are not going to fundamentally change during the Sun Dasha, simply because the Sun does not have a primary 3rd house agenda. And so in whatever way they ended Venus Dasha in the D27, that's not going to change during Sun Dasha. Whatever was their ability of conflict resolution or relationship repair, or even the strength of their will, those things are not going to change during Sun Dasha, simply because the Sun here doesn't have an agenda for it. Okay. Now the Sun, however, is in Cancer and conjunct the 9th and 10th house, and has a focus in the D27. The person put the energy and effort here in improving matters related to cancer, which was their home, the 9th house, philosophy, and also the 10th house, their vocation. Okay, and the sun here is in a natural friend sign, and the exertion of will and energy in those areas can give moderately good results. Now recently this person entered Moondasha, okay, and in Moondasha there will be a long-awaited shift. In the D27 they couldn't really make big changes happening before, during Sandasha, particularly with regards to their marriage and career. But now Moondasha is going to change that. The moon is conjunct the important third cusp, and it is a manifestor. And that is going to give them the willpower and ability to improve their life. The moon is here in Capricorn, the sign of ambition and career success, and the moon's lord Saturn is conjunct Venus, right, the planet of love and marriage. And this links Moondasha back to those unresolved themes of Venus Dasha, right, which were the struggles around love and intimacy and emotional satisfaction. And if you remember, Venus Dasha started with failed relationships, when they eventually got disillusioned, and then a few years into Venus Dasha completely withdrew from romantic involvement altogether. And then eventually, by the end of Venus Dasha, they did get married. And now in Moon Dasha, those emotional wounds are being revisited. Hopefully not to repeat them, but to work through them and heal them. Now, Saturn is the lord of the moon, and its condition is not ideal, but it's also not hopeless either. Saturn is conjunct Venus, and it's aspected here by Jupiter. And so this is what gives Saturn some stability, wisdom, and even hope for emotional healing. But Saturn also gets afflicted by Rahu, Mars, and Ketu. And those are going to create tension and an unstable will during Moon Dasha. And so we certainly have here a mixed bag that does point towards progress, especially if the person is willing to confront and work through their long-standing issues in their heart that reflect into their marriage. Now, one of the ways they hope to improve their relationship dynamics is to create financial security. We can see here that the moon is in Capricorn, the sign of status. It is in the 10th house as well, which has to do with taking financial responsibility. And of course it is conjunct here the important third cusp of the will and discipline to be successful. And it is a manifestor here as well. And so for the first time, the person feels genuinely capable and motivated to take charge of their material life, right? And this started here in the beginning of Moon Dasha, right? They start to believe that they can be the provider for them and their family. And this really is an important shift in their life, because one of the unspoken tensions in the relationship has been the lack of concrete forward movement. And so here, by taking practical steps to create new income streams, they can begin to rebuild confidence in their ability to show up both materially and spiritually. And with that, their partner has already begun to respond. There's a slow rebalancing, a mutual recognition that the emotional difficulties of the past don't need to define the future. Right? The battles of Venus Dasha, which remained unresolved throughout Sun Dasha, now become fuel for growth and optimism. Now, Moondasha certainly won't bring an easy resolution, but it can provide the right conditions for healing, right? Moondasha can reconnect this person to their ability to improve and take responsibility for positive change. And in that sense, Moondasha really becomes a crucial bridge, helping them traverse from inner confusion to greater wholeness.